Good evening, everyone, and welcome to day 10 of our Salesforce admin class. And today we'll continue our series on beyond administrative tasks, meaning that we're no longer learning the basics of Salesforce admin. We are going beyond the administrative tasks. And today we're going to continue with our service and support applications part 2. Yesterday, we discussed a lot about service and support applications. We talk about the case assignment rules. We talk about queues. We talk about automations in cases. We talk about the support process. We saw, we learned how the record type can be used to enable the support process and how they are interlinked together. We also tried or worked on a case auto response rule with a template for an email. And today we're gonna continue with our service and support application by looking into case escalation, and we're gonna be looking into email to case. Okay, this is what we haven't done yet, and we're gonna be looking at that shortly. Again, if you are following with the curriculum according to Salesforce, this is where I'm getting everything from. Okay, so in case you want to learn by yourself, you want to ensure that you're capturing all those key points, this is where you get them from. Okay, and you will see that we are following the guide according to Salesforce, and we've done this too. We are almost done with this, and if time permits, which I believe, we're going to start with this. Okay, without wasting much of your time, let me quickly go into the hands-on hugs and try showing you one or two things. So I'm going to be using the hug I used yesterday. I launched this, and we're going to continue from where we stopped yesterday. So right now, I told you that we have cases, and we can assign cases based on the process we've set up in our business. Okay, we set up 2 record types. We have paid members and unpaid members, and based on what they select, different owner will be assigned to the case. Okay, we can assign a case to a queue. We can assign a case to a user in the system. In addition to that, we can have a life cycle for a case. So we can convert a case when we click on, when I say convert, I mean we can close a case when we click on close, and once we mark the status as closed, it's going to be closed. And when a case is closed, you would see this come up in the case, the date time closed. Okay, this is very important for tracking issue or whatever it is. Always have it at the back of your mind. When you close a case, you would always see this appear, and this would automatically appear when the case is open. In addition to that, the email, you would get that when you're creating the case, and depending on the contact associated to the case, you can get the contact email based on the contact you associated to the case. When the case status is closed, you cannot do anything with that case again. It is closed. Okay, so you cannot do anything. If a customer has issue, you can reopen the case. So right now, let's go to what we have for today, which is email to case. I want you guys to kind of like pay attention to this, because this is something they can ask you to configure at work, and you just need to know how it works. Okay, so I told you we can create a case in Salesforce using different methods, right? Internally, we can go to new and create a case. We can create using web to case, and we can create case using email. So right now, let me show you how you can create a case after configuring your email to case. We go to setup, and we type in email to, okay, email to case. This appears, and you select it. Alternatively, you can just type in case here, and everything about case will come up. Will come up. Then you can decide what functions or what functionality or what features of the case objects you would like to use for that day. For today, we are going to be clicking on email to case, and it's going to tell you a few things about email to case. Okay, so email to case enables you to create cases automatically via an email transaction, an email log. For instance, if you go on the BlackForce website and you send an email to contacts@BlackForce, okay, you send that email to training@blackforce.ca, partners@blackforce.ca, it will create a case in the Salesforce org. Okay, how does that work? You first of all, you need to configure the email to case. Okay, you need to configure the email to case, and you get there by going to email to case in the quick find. Okay, you click on continue and you read this instruction. So basically, it's about how you want to configure your email to case. Some people actually have some other settings, but let's try the basic way of creating email to case. Okay, so we go to edit. And once we have the edit, the first thing is enable email to case. Obviously, you want to enable email to case because that's what you're trying to do, right? Then it's asking you, do you want to notify case owners on new emails? Yes, you want to notify case owners on new emails. You click on yes. Enable HTML emails. What does that mean? It means in your email, you can have a link. You can click on a link in the email. It's possible if your template has the link enabled in the template. Okay. In addition to that, you can use bold, italics, underline, all those kind of decorative features you can find in an email. If you enable each HTML emails, then you'll be able to do those stuff. Okay. So now save email to case attachment as Salesforce files. What does that mean? It means, when you have a case, right? If you go to related of the case, you see this attachment. Okay. Whenever someone sends an email to a case, the email will create a case automatically. And if there's an attachment to that email, okay, it will be saved in the attachment section of the case on the related tab. Okay, so that is what it's saying. And if you want to enable that, you can click on that. Then again, there are other functionalities, other features. Most of them are just plain English. But then again, if you want to look into it further, you can read into it. Okay, for instance, place user signature before email thread, meaning that if user has a signature, like maybe some contact information at the bottom of that email, you want to place it before the email threads. So, those kind of stuff is something you can decide by yourself, or the business will decide whether they want it or not. Okay, and this is one of the most important things: enable on-demand service. What does that mean? It means email to case must be enabled before you can enable on-demand service. What that means is that you need to enable this email to case, then you enable on-demand service. On-demand service is that when you request for it, you are going to get it. Okay, so now it's asking you what should happen when there is a failure. Do you want to discard the message? Do you want to requeue the message? Do you want to bounce the message? What does this mean? It means if you try to send an email to case and there's a failure whatsoever, what should happen? Should it discard that message or requeue the message to resend in future, or to just bounce the message? Everything you want, you can decide, but then again, they are not really crucial. The most important thing is making sure that you enable email to case. Okay, so now you save. When you save this, two things happen. The first thing is you now have an email to case enabled. That means you can now use the email to case functionality. However, you need to do one more thing. You need to create a routing address. Okay, a routing address is the email Salesforce will provide for you. So Salesforce will give you an email where you can configure your domain email to. What does that mean? It means that if you create a routing address like this, for instance, I want to say partners email, okay? Partners email, email routing. Let's make it that way. Partners email routing, and I would say the partners email routing is Babatope at BlackForce.ca. Obviously, it could be anything, right? It could be partners at BlackForce.ca or whatever it is. Okay, then you can determine whether you want to accept email from anyone or you want to accept email from only Black Force domain. It's up to you, but leave it blank if you don't want to accept, if you want to accept email from any domain. But if you want to accept email, if you want to restrict where the email is coming from, maybe at Gmail, at Black Force, or at your company domain, then you can put specifically where you want to have this email routed from, okay? Then you want to say, or you want to set what happens when an email or a case is created from an email. Do you want to create a task? If you want to create a task, what status do you want the task to be? Okay, I'll just select in progress, but this is not compulsory. But if you check this, then you have to select the status of the task. Okay, then you determine who should own this email. Whenever an email to case is being triggered, who should be the owner of this case? You can select a user or you can select a queue. Okay, let's start with selecting a user and subsequently we try with a queue. Okay, so now we say anytime an email to case is being created based on this email, based on the partner's email routing, a task should be created and the owner of the task should be, the owner of the case should be this guy, and the origin should be email. Okay, and the record type should be, I don't know, depending on what you want, right? So if partners are paid members or something, then you can say the record type should be paid member. But obviously, you shouldn't limit your record type to paid members or unpaid members. It should be based on the business requirements. Business can have paid members, unpaid members, partners, you know, all those kind of stuff. It's that there's so many things you can configure depending on what the business has asked you to do. Your job as an admin is to be able to configure them when the business asks you to do that, not for you to think for the business, okay? Don't think all the stuff I'm coming up with, they are based on my previous experience as working in an organization, but it could be different for you as well, okay? It could be very different for you. So now you've created a routing. You've created a routing for your email to case. What does that mean in terms of, in English language, it means that anytime someone sends an email to this address, a case will be created. That's what it means. A routing. Routing is the direction of where the email is going. Everything you do on the internet is being controlled by a router. Router determines where to go when something is clicked, when something is initiated, okay? So now this is the routing email, meaning that Salesforce has given you this email address. Anytime someone sends an email to this email address, it will create a case in Salesforce. But this email address is very long. It's not something you can remember, okay? This email address is not something you can remember. It's not even something you can give people. Think about it. If you say, okay, instead of you sending email to support@blackforce or CA, I say, send an email to these long digits. You wouldn't even find it funny. You just think maybe we're on serious and everything like that. But if I say send an email to support@blackforce or CA, and it will be automatically redirected to this. This is what your network guys at work would configure. Your network guys know how to do email forwarding. So any email that gets sent to support@blackforce or CA would go to this address, okay? This is the routing. But before you start using it, you need to verify the email address which you have put down for the routing, okay? So let me quickly verify that email. I'm going to check my Blackforce email shortly, and I will be able to verify that email, okay? So let me just, I just opened that email right now, and I click on this, okay? This is the email I received from Salesforce, okay? support@salesforce.com, and I click on this, which shows that the email is now verified, okay? So if I refresh this, it shows verified. Can you see? Just because I click on that link, this is now verified, okay? That means we can start using this routing. To test this routing, I will have my cases and know that there are no new cases here, okay? And I'm going to copy this email and I'm going to open my Gmail and I'm going to send an email to that address, okay? Okay, look at the address I put. This is the one Salesforce gave to us. and I will say testing email to case from Gmail. Okay, so now I have given a subject of testing email to case from Gmail, and I'll say, okay, maybe you might not want to say that. You might want to give something more descriptive, what you guys are actually looking into when you attending your training. Training schedule calendar is blank. Okay, so now you're sending a complaint. So imagine this is support@blackforce.ca. Okay, and you say, hi admin or hi operations, my training schedule is blank. Okay, please can you help me out? Okay, so something very basic, right? You just send an email and you click on send. So once you click on send, you will be able to see that email in your case. Okay, it can take a bit of time, but then again, it will come up. Okay, so this is the email. This is the no, this is not the email. I just created one right now. Training schedule calendar is blank. Okay, and as you can see, it was created like 2 minutes ago or 1 minute ago. This is the case I just created as a result of what we configured. Can you see? I admin operations, my training schedule is blank. Please, can you help me out? Can you see how things just work seamlessly? Just by configuring email to case, any support email we receive, it goes automatically into Salesforce. This is one of the benefits of using Salesforce. So if at all you don't have any need to use Salesforce, as you can see, you can track all your cases. You can track all your emails within Salesforce. You can close, you can change the status of the case. So when I keep telling you guys to use support@blackforce.ca, there's a rationale behind it. When you tell me that you don't receive messages, I want to track why you don't receive messages. I want to look into the emails and find out what the problem is. Any message you send in an email trend, you will see the message here. For instance, if I go back to my sent, and maybe I haven't received any response from the operation team, I'm just going to say, I am following up on my issue. I sent this XYZ minutes ago, right? So now what I'm saying is that anytime you send an email, there's a log for it. Anytime you reply an email, there's a log for it within Salesforce. What that means is that I can track what the operation guys are doing. I can easily look into any issue. But if you're sending an email to operations on WhatsApp, on Telegram, on email, then you're missing the point of support. You're missing the point of managing support. Okay, so I'm just telling you from a professional point of view that this is what these big guys are using. Bell, all those telecoms, all those appointment booking, all those, whatever you're doing, you know, whenever you call the Bell technicians, this is how they manage their support ticket. So we are trying to make, or we're trying to use the same method, okay? But the bottom line is you should know what Salesforce can do. So when your clients ask you, your client will ask you, oh, how do I make sure that my customers are 100% happy? How do I make sure that I attend to all customers' issues at the right time? How do I make sure that I don't break SLAs? This is what you should recommend for them. Recommend cases and use all the features. As you can see, we've done assignment rule, we've done queues, we've done auto response, we've done email templates, we've done web to case. These are the things you can build for your clients. Okay, you can build this stuff for your client and you tell them this is how to utilize the Salesforce to solve your problem. Okay, this is email to case. As you can see, I am following up with my issue. I sent this XYZ minutes ago and I haven't received a reply. So if you tell me that you send an email, all I'll just check is your case number. I check your case number and I can see everything you've been communicating with the support team. So everything is being logged. Okay, so now that we have this, what you can now do is you can close this case. Obviously, when the case has been resolved, you close it. Okay, also you can provide a case reason if there is a need for it. Okay, you can provide a case reason, but this is a default Salesforce pick list field, meaning that you can remove all these options and provide your business specific case reason. Okay, so case reason doesn't have to be installation, performance, breakdown, and the likes. You can change all this and you save. Okay, so now that you save, the case is closed. But what happens when someone goes back to that same email and say, I still haven't received my whatever. Okay, I still haven't received my whatever, right? At the end of the day, the expectations are this should go to the case because of this is looking for the subject. The case, whenever you create send an email to that address, it is looking at the subject and it is matching it based on what we have in the existing system. However, because this case has been closed, okay, you still get this. You don't reopen the case. The case has been closed, but you still get updates on the case. If at all you want to reopen the case, then you need to create a new case, or perhaps you can change the subject of the case so a new case can be generated for that client. Okay, so once the case is closed in Salesforce, it is closed completely. You cannot reopen that case. Okay, you have to clone the case and you have to create a new case as a result of the clone case, because when you close a case, you essentially create a new case based on the current issues that are going on. So you clone that case and you can now start tracking again. Okay, so just have that at the back of your mind. And now that we've created a email to case, let me show you what happened if you don't want to use this long stuff. You don't want to use this long stuff. You can go to, I'll just give you example from my own company, but again, you don't need to know this as a Salesforce admin. This is technical. This is more of networking. So what you have to do is you have to redirect, okay? You have to forward this email. You have to forward all emails received from, you have to forward all emails received into this, okay? You have to forward all emails sent to this. You have to forward it to this address because you don't want to show this, but you want to give your customers this email. So what you have to do is just go to, if you are familiar with domain hosting and everything, you can go to email forwarders, okay? Once you go to email forwarders, you will create a new folder and you now say support, or you can say partners, okay? Partners at maybe Blackforce or whatever it is, to Blackforce. Then you can now forward that email address to it, okay? You copy and you paste. So that means that anytime they send an email to you, okay, I think I selected the wrong stuff. Folder, partners, okay, then I select maybe Blackforce, okay? So what I'm saying is that anytime they send an email to partners at blackforce.ca, it will go to this address, okay? That is what this is saying. So next time you send an email to this, is going to go to this, okay? So that's how you will configure it from the networking point of view, the hosting point of view, and everything will still work seamlessly, okay? So that's email to case for you. There's also one last thing we didn't cover, which is escalation rules. What are escalation rules in Salesforce? Escalation rules are just another rule in Salesforce, meaning that if a case has been created and the service level agreement is 12 hours, if the case has not been closed within 12 hours, I want to escalate to someone that would look into that case. What does that mean? It means that if Blackforce says their service level agreement, which is time to resolve any customer issue, we need to resolve it in 12 hours. If after 12 hours, you haven't closed that case or the case has not been closed, you will escalate to the manager. You escalate to me, you escalate to Rosemary, you escalate to whoever is in charge. And you can keep escalating until the case has been closed. Okay, escalation rule is creating an awareness for that case until it has been resolved. Okay, so again, the same way we create assignment rule is the same way we create escalation rule. As you can see, we have a standard escalation rule by default. We have a standard rule escalation by default, meaning that if billing country equals USA and SLA equals platinum and case priority equals I, this is a sample escalation rule criteria. So when this condition is met, then you want to escalate after 2 hours. After 2 hours, the case has not been closed, escalate. That's the action on the rule. So you can create a new rule and say, after 30 minutes, okay? I'm just gonna say 30 minutes, okay? Escalate this to the manager or whoever is in charge of the business. Now, you can also notify users, okay? You can notify users about the case, okay? And you save. So you're saying that after 30 minutes, escalate. After 2 hours, escalate. After 5 hours, escalate. As you can see, you can escalate you can notify the case owner as well, and you can use a template for your email if you want to. You know, like this is just basic stuff, but you need to understand why you are escalating. You need to understand the reason for escalation. Okay, so you escalate to a user, you escalate to a manager, you can even provide additional emails. You can provide up to 5 email addresses. Okay, you can provide up to 5 email addresses of the people you would like to escalate to. So you can escalate every 30 minutes, every 2 hours, every 5 hours. As long as they are active, you can escalate. Okay, again, escalation rules is just to notify the relevant people in the business about a case that has not been resolved in a timely manner. As you can see, it is very intuitive. Okay, it is very intuitive. You can't just create different rules and criteria and actions. The first thing is, if you want to override the standard rule, make sure that you click on active on the new rule you're creating. One important thing you need to know is you can only have one active rule. You can only have one active rule. You cannot have 2 escalation rules at the same time. However, once you click on that rule, you can now have rule entries. Once you have the rule entries, then you can edit the rule entries and have escalation actions. What are the actions that should happen after escalation? Okay, so there is escalation rule, there is escalation rule criteria, and there is actions that need to happen for that escalation rule. Okay, so that's how to test, that's how to work on escalation rule. We cannot test escalation rule because it's going to take 30 minutes for one rule to kick off, right? So I wouldn't escalate, but you should know that as part of your requirement. So I'm going to take a pause here to find out if you guys get it, and if you guys have any questions, you can ask me. Okay, so let's take a pause here and find out if you have any questions regarding assignment rules, auto response rule, escalation rules, and anything regarding case. You can ask me anything regarding case right now, so we can just end the support application process. Okay, so please raise your hand and I'll call you according to how your hands are being raised. Adepeji, unmute yourself and speak, please. Peji, unmute yourself and speak, please. Okay, I'm going to go to the next person, okay? Tash, unmute yourself and speak, please.
Hi, Babatope. So thank you for answering my last night's question about the email. So I have one more question. Like, I understood that if a customer would reply on the email, the case would not open. But then how would the agent know that there is an update on the case?
Yeah, so there's notify user, right? There's notify user or notify case owner. So if you enable that, the agent will know, and the agent will be able to reply or do something regarding that case. And if the agents want to reopen the case, they just need to clone, and everything in that case will be created automatically on the new case. And you technically just have a new case based on the previous transaction on the last case. Okay. So if you notify the user, the agent will know. If you notify the owner of the case, the agent should know about replies on that case. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
No worries. Adekemi, please. Adekemi, unmute yourself and speak.
Okay, hi, Babatope. So my question is about the closed case as well. So it's similar to tax question. So if, for instance, I'll give you an example because I've been able to use Salesforce in a contact center environment before. And the issue with the closed case, we noticed that customers were sending, it could be like after like 3 weeks, customer wants to send a mail about something else entirely. They use the mail trail they used like some weeks ago to send the mail. The cases kept going to closed case, and there were issues of, oh, we've been sending mails, you guys are not responding, and we had to go investigate and notice that the cases were going to closed case. But in the case of doing like notify user in a contact center environment, notifying user might not really work. The reason I said that is because you've got different people, like a contact center of like 100 people. One person is working on a case today. The moment you close the case, it's not supposed to be yours again, because you might not even come in the next maybe 4 or 5 days and a customer is replying. So in such cases, there like a workaround that you could create rules that maybe if, I can't remember what was done then, I don't know what the admin did at that time, but can you create like rules that maybe after some time, just open case, this case should open if something comes in, or there should be, I feel there should be a workaround or something.
Yeah, there should be a workaround, and the workaround is maybe you build a flow. Okay, you build a flow that would look into closed case. So anytime a case is closed and maybe a message is received within the case, then you can just send an email alert to the person assigned to the case. So if by default the notify user does not work, then this is where automation comes into place. As a system admin, you're not really required to know that. However, as a consultant, you should be able to come up with a solution. And once we get to our workflow automations, you will see so many solutions you can put into place. For instance, you can use the workflow rule to send an email alert, or you can use a flow to send an email to the case owner whenever the case is closed and a message is received in the case. Okay, so all you just need to look for is the matching criteria that would trigger that workflow. Once you can look for a matching criteria that will trigger the workflow, then you'll be able to send an alert to the case owner or to someone, maybe a contact email. Or no, contact email is from the case requester, someone that submitted the case. So the ideal person will be case owner, or you can go back to a case queue. But then again, the case has already been closed. So I think an email alert would be the perfect thing to do. Okay. So remember, if by default, Salesforce does not send notify user emails after a case has been closed, then a workflow rule would be the ideal solution for this. Okay. Adekemi, does that help? Does that answer your question?
Yes, it does. Yes, to some extent.
Yeah, the only thing there is that we can practicalize it if you want. So
yeah,
because I haven't taught you guys workflow, so I wouldn't.
Okay, maybe when we get there, yes, that's okay.
Remind me when we get there so we can practicalize this, okay?
Okay, I will. Thank you.
No worries. Gaffer, unmute yourself and speak, please.
Okay, thank you very much, Babatope. The service and support applications, I want to believe that this is going to be both email to case and escalation rules. I hope this will be based on the customer, the organizational service level agreement, right? That will determine each of the rules guiding all these, whether the escalation rules or the email to case, or the sales or the sales admin will need to formulate some policy for them, or the policy is going to be based on their SLAs, their customers.
So what typically happens is Salesforce admin is a doer, meaning that you will be required to do and not to think for the business. The BA and the product owner will be the one thinking for the business. So don't do the job of a BA. the BA will tell you, business A, anytime a case has been assigned to XYZ user, do this. Anytime a case is assigned record type premium, do this. That's the business business analyst telling the system admin what to do. Some system admin can go, beyond and do, something nice and creative. Fine. That's something that makes them feel good. But at the end of the day, as a system admin, you just need to know how to do it. You need to know what I have just done, how to do it. However, if you are a consultant, perhaps you need to be thinking, this is a solution. Like what's the last question? What the last question was asking? We've closed a case. We're not getting notification. How do you solve it? As a consultant, you just come up with solution. Can we use flow? Can we use workflow? What is Salesforce talking about this issue? How is Salesforce? Can we just, anytime a case has been closed and it received an email, can we just automatically create a new case? Can we clone the existing case and reopen a new case based on the clone? That's also a solution. So as a consultant, you are solving problem. As an admin, you are doing what you're asked to do. So there are two differences between, that's a thin line between the admin and the consultant. Consultants solve, admin, they are doers, okay?
Okay, thank you. Then the overriding.
Can you unmute yourself and speak, please?
Okay, can you hear me now?
Yeah, sure.
Okay, another question that is attached to it is that I hope, sorry for this question, I hope that all the Salesforce primary licenses covers all these services, right?
No. So that's the most interesting.
That's why I said sorry for that question.
You don't have to be sorry. It's the reality. You don't get cases, all this kind of fancy stuff when you buy a basic Salesforce license. It only covers basic stuff like accounts, contacts, opportunities, and the likes. This case is so powerful that you need a special, not that you need a special license, you don't need you need a service cloud, not service cloud, but service license. Okay? I think it's called service cloud. Let me check. Service and sales cloud license. Okay? So you don't get it out of the box. You have to pay extra. For instance, for you to have those features, you need to pay $175 compared to $25. Can you see? This is the most popular one in terms of licenses. This is the basic one. It's, like you guys can create object and everything, but there are limitations on the essential, limitations on the professional. The enterprise is where you get everything you see in the hands-on org. Is that enterprise, you get it. So look at what essential gives you. Essential gives you accounts, contact, lead, and opportunity. Okay? And it gives you case management. Yes, you have this. But if you go to service contract entitlement, you don't get it. Lead registration, rules-based sharing, all those lead scoring, you don't get it, right? API customization, you don't get it from the essential. If you go down again, you will see what this means. Lead assignment and routing, yes. Web to lead capture, yes. But you should be looking into this before you recommend any license for your customer. So you cannot tell them all those fancy stuff and get them the license. They are now paying almost $4,000 a year to get those features, which, they have to think about it, right? So you need to look into the licenses and find out which one would fit in your client budget and will solve their immediate needs. Okay?
Okay. Thank you very much, Babatope.
No worries. Sonny, please unmute yourself and speak.
Hi, Babatope. Please, can you throw more light on forwarding emails? I got lost somewhere. Thank you.
The thing that I showed you, probably you got lost, is something you probably don't need to know. Okay? So in terms of email forwarder, this is outside of the Salesforce scope. I just showed you how your network guy will configure that. So essentially what that means is that any email that goes to partners at Blackford or CA will be going to the email you've created for your email to case. Okay? Email to case, whenever you create, you enable email to case, you will be given an email from Salesforce. This is where your emails will be sent to, okay? Salesforce will give you a routing address, which is this, As you can see, you can configure as many routing addresses as possible. But this one is long, it's boring. You cannot be giving customer this email. So what I showed you here is just to convert this email into something simple that you can give your customer. Okay? That's the old routing and forwarding. But you don't have to know this as an admin. Even as a consultant, you don't need to know this. It's only technical guys or someone that works within the network hosting and stuff like that can use this. Okay?
All right, thank you.
No worries. Vinita, unmute yourself and speak, please.
Hi, Babatope.
Yeah. Hi, Vinita.
I have a question regarding call center employees, because I think they will be mostly using service and service cloud. So my question is regarding saying that, the service center employee or the call center employee, they are getting calls through various means. For an example, they are getting call from through phone queries. Client can raise a case through email or the web. So how that can be integrated in this?
So again, that is Service Cloud, okay? I don't want to mingle Service Cloud with Salesforce Admin. According to the curriculum for Salesforce Admin, this is the expectation, because by the time I bring call center and everything, then we're going into Service Cloud, which we're going to treat later on. But having said that, there's what they call the Salesforce dialer. The Salesforce dialer would connect Salesforce to maybe some customer service networking dialer, and you can automate that process. But,
Okay,
but then
because,
again, you need a different license for that, okay?
okay, because we were talking about case management, so I thought, if customers are raising cases through email, phone, or through web, if they're checking, so how we are gonna integrate that? That's why I asked this question.
Yeah, sure. Totally understand. It's just I don't want to go outside of the scope of the Salesforce admin. Otherwise, it's going to be overwhelming for certain people that haven't done this before. Okay?
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, no worries. Happy, please.
Yeah, thank you so much, Roberto. So I just have a quick question about email to case. I know you, John, we have to enable email to case and also enable on-demand service and then save. Is that the only thing I need to do there? Just those two?
Ideally, those two, but if you want to do other things like notify case owners on new emails, then you enable this, okay? Then if you enable HTML, that means you can use all those bold, you can use also italics and all those kind of fancy stuff in the email, maybe in your email template and the likes. And the customer can also send you those emails and you can see those fancy stuff in the cases. For instance, this is what I meant by that. As you can see in this email, I can use all those bold, okay? That's what the HTML is all about, right? So if you have all those stuff, you can put it in the email and you can send. And also you can reply to the customer directly from this place. As you can see, it's going to reply directly from this Salesforce org. And what that means is that you can also, when you're replying, the customers can use all those fancy stuff, okay? That's what it means, okay? And, and other things as well, but you don't need to put them if you don't really know what it is. However, attachment means that customer can send attachment and you can send attachment as well, okay? So that's what that means.
Okay. So the second question I have is creating the routing address. Is that when I will get that long email?
Yes, yes.
Oh,
yes.
okay.
So you can create as many routing addresses, but you start with one and you test and you do the others as well, okay?
Okay, thank you so much.
No worries. So I think this is all on cases and there are no questions, so we can carry on, okay? So please, cases come a lot in your exam certification, so please understand all we've done in terms of cases: assignment rule, auto response rule, escalation rules, email to case, and web to case, okay? So I think that's all for cases. That since there are no questions, we can move to the other session. Rosemary, can you stop this session, please? Can you stop recording this session so we can have a different session for the next one?